Where does this sadness come from? The kind that flows over me and takes me by surprise. It consumes me without warning and without reason. The harder I try to escape, the worse it feels. As if swimming in it would be easier than trying to use a boat. It just won't go away. It never gives me an explanation. Sometimes it's easier to think I'm pretending or that I'm lazy because just then it would be my fault. I was that during one of the darkest seasons of my life. You wouldn't have guessed it if you saw me then. President of a student union, founder of a growing organization. Did I mention I even had 2 mental health podcasts going at one time? On the outside, it looked like I was thriving. But on the inside, the shame of being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and panic disorder was eating me alive. By show of hands, how many of us believe that we absolutely need to break the mental health stigma within our society? That's what I thought. And yet, so many of us forget that we are a part of society and that we need to break our own mental health stigma within ourselves and about ourselves first. Now, let me tell you why I couldn't say this out loud for so long. When I was finally diagnosed with PTSD and panic disorder, I did not feel any relief. I felt exposed. Like someone had turned on the lights in a room I had been trying to clean in the dark. Sleep felt like a wish in the bottle. The truth is, I knew something was wrong. The flashbacks, the isolation, the dissociation, none of it was new. Any small sound sent my heart racing. I remember one day, I woke up and my chest felt tight. I sat up on my bed trying to pull in some air, and because I thought the room was stuffy, I decided to run to the bathroom. That is where I had my first panic attack. In that moment, I felt like my hopes, my dreams had all been discussed with a mind I called crazy. It wasn't just about what others would think. It was about what I thought about myself. I thought that needing help made me weak, that a leader, a true leader, had to do it all and do it all perfectly. But above all, I thought that I would be letting my family, my friends, and my society down. But here's the truth. We are all a part of society. Yes, even us who have experienced mental health struggles, whether short or long term, that actually it is through internalized mental health stigma that we reinforce these thoughts about ourselves, our shame, our silence, our impossible expectations of ourselves. In fact, data from the Mental Health Commission of Canada indicates that 72% of people who have a mental health disorder or substance use disorder often internalize these negative stereotypes, experiencing a lot of self-stigma. So I ask, how do we expect to extend grace to others that we cannot allow ourselves a piece of? Because that is how I was living. It doesn't matter where you're from, what culture raised you, what language you speak. If you have told yourself, I should be over this by now, I can't let anyone else see me like this, then you have felt it too. According to a study published in 2023, it showed that internalized mental health stigma can lead to delays in getting mental health supports and care for up to 2 years. So yes, that's the internal voice we need to start with. Now, I used to think PTSD, mental health, trauma were the problems, and well, they still are. I have come to realize that the bigger enemy is shame. It was shame that made me hide, shame that made me delay help. It was shame that made me feel unworthy of leadership or love. It was shame that made me feel unworthy of even being among society. Now, that same study also showed that there is a high risk of loss of self-esteem for individuals who are aware of their mental health illness, especially if that is coupled with a loss of social identity. Now, this rang painfully true for me as a psychology student who prided herself on knowing better. My identity was built on being capable, informed, and helping others. So honestly, admitting that I was struggling felt like I was losing the very foundation of who I was. I was deteriorating. I carried so much shame for this diagnosis that I didn't want to live anymore. And after the pills, I carried a different kind of shame. The shame that I had almost let a mental illness take me out. I couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. Now, this is no wonder shame is highly correlated with high rates of violence, bullying, suicide, addictions, and what a shame. So having this mental illness named and confirmed made it harder for me to keep on pretending. But now I know that acknowledging it was truly the first step in my healing journey. The turning point for me wasn't one big moment. It was a series of small, powerful steps. Out of desperation in search for a lifeline and a purpose, I decided to run for my first position on the student board. Some days were good, others were bad, others were really triggering. Juggling the expectations of leadership while dealing with mood swings, self-doubt, and the fear of being found out was really exhausting. I remember one day I was chairing a board meeting, and I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The edges of my vision blurred, and I knew a panic attack was coming. As the chair would, I called a short recess. I ran into the hallway to try and catch my breath, but the real storm was raging. A real leader wouldn't be this weak. Maybe you are too broken to lead. I went back in, sat down, continued chairing the board meeting as if nothing had happened. This is what I had trained myself to do. Keep quiet, keep on going, keep on pushing on. Now, while this was not ideal, stepping into leadership positions really sparked something inside me. It was the first time I saw myself as someone who still had something to give back while still dealing with his mental health struggles. For the first time, I started to think that maybe my story didn't make me less of a leader, but it made me the kind of leader others needed. So, yes, mental illness can change your life. But sometimes it can lead you to discovering your deeper strengths and discovering a new purpose and building your resilience that you didn't know you had. This is known as post-traumatic growth. This is a concept that was introduced by two psychologists, Richard and Lawrence. Post-traumatic growth refers to the positive psychological changes that can occur when someone deals with very highly challenging circumstances in life. Studies and research has shown that actually veterans, sexual assault survivors, cancer survivors have experienced some form of post-traumatic growth. So yes, while trauma is undeniably difficult, it can also lead to you having immense health and actually dealing with new different strengths. Community starts with a conversation. Talk to a friend, a therapist, a trusted friend, a counselor. You are not alone. 1 in 5 Canadians in here actually experience some form of mood, anxiety, or substance use disorder in a year. If you are in crisis, call or text 988. Your story matters. Your journey matters. If you are facing mental health struggles, find your lifeline. That might be your family, your business, whatever it is. Let it be the fuel that keeps you going. The thing that keeps you grounded even when the days seem so unbearable. Now, to those of you who see someone struggling, do not turn away. Offer a check-in, a kind word. That phone call might be the lifeline they need. You might be the community to spark that strength. Have a resource handy. You might not be the expert, but you can direct them to one. As a community, let us push for accessible, affordable, and culturally informed mental health services. Because mental health isn't just a personal issue, it's also a systematic one. One where for some of us, our race, class, gender actually dictates how we are perceived in healthcare settings. Community-based programs have to be a part of this. Studies have shown that community-based programs have better outcomes than just individual therapy alone. Mental health supports must be seen as basic needs. They have to be embedded within our communities in order to truly foster healing, resilience, and reconciliation. We have the power to change the narrative around mental health, to create a society where vulnerability is strength, connection is power, and healing is possible. But beyond that, we have the power to create a society where mental illness doesn't end lives, but can actually open the door to a new beginning. Now that is how we can transform trauma into growth. Thank you.